I love this cartoon. This is from a underground comic for people who smoke way too much marijuana. And it's called, these people are the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, and they were created by Gilbert Shelton, who was one of the first underground cartoonists, and one of the least pathological ones with the best sense of humor. And he writes these stories about these stupid hippies, 3 of them, the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. You see 2 of them there, and all they do is smoke pot and avoid responsibility and run away from the police. And but it's a nice satire. And they have this cat, and the fat one, Fat Freddy, has the cat, and they're too lazy to even give the cat a name, so it's Fat Freddy's cat, and it has its own adventures, mostly with like an army of cockroaches that lives inside their like horrible slummy hellhole of a living place. And so anyways, it's quite comical. And so the hippies have stumbled across a small fortune, and stoned out of their minds on cocaine, they go out to set up utopia in the countryside. And they buy this terrible piece of property, but they're so deluded that they think it's like a mansion. And they bring their cat, and I don't know if you've ever had a cat, but cats don't like to move. It really bugs them. And so they're not comfortable when you bring them to a new place. They're like the rat that's been taken out of its comfortable cage and put into a new cage. And the cat, you put a cat in a new room, and it, depending on the cat obviously, but generally they'll retreat into a corner and meow piteously and be very unhappy for quite a substantial amount of time. And so the cartoonist actually mapped this out quite nicely. So the hippie takes the cat out of the box and says, "Our new home." They're out in the forest. This is an urban cat. It's never been in the forest. It doesn't know what the hell's up in the forest. And the cat's looking rather dubiously and thinks, so this is the country. And then it's put on the ground and it starts to slink, as he says, slink, slink, out into the forest. And that's actually what animals do. It's a predator evasion crouch. And so if they're put in a new territory, they'll hunker down and freeze first, and then they'll slowly unfreeze and start to explore. They sniff first, and then they'll start to move. But they do it like with trepidation and slowly and try to hide. And so that's what the cat's doing. And the cat goes out into the unknown far enough, sniffing, and all of a sudden, pow! It goes underneath the house. It's like the toddler running back to the mother. And another hippie there, I think that's Phineas, says, "Where'd the cat disappear to now?" And the Fat Freddy character says, "Under the house." And then the cat's under there in the dark with big eyes looking terrified, saying, "You'd hide too if you'd smelled what I did." And so what it smelled was this thing that has like the head of a wolf and antlers like a deer, and the tail of a skunk, and the feet of like a chicken, and horrible claws. It's like, well, what is that? Well, it's a monstrous amalgam of that which lurks in the unknown. And so the cartoonist, the comedian, got it perfect. Said, well, what is there, what is out in the unknown? Well, you need one representation, not 1,000. And so you take pieces of what's out there that are relevant, and you create a single image out of that, and you say, well, this is what's out there. And you might say, well, no such animal as that exists. And that's actually incorrect. An animal very much like that exists. It's just a superordinate low-resolution category. It includes all those weird animals that might hurt you that are out in the forest. That's a useful category. Weird animals that might hurt you. And that's a real category. You know, you might say, well, there's differentiated things within that category. It's like, yeah, every category has that nature. It can still be further differentiated, maybe not protons, you know. They can even be differentiated with regards to location at least. So every category can be further differentiated. The question is whether the category has some functional utility, or at least that's one of its questions. It's like, that's the thing to be afraid of.